The next morning, I go with the women basket fishing. I find it's often by integrating yourself within the community that the best information comes out.
Any fish? While I'm doing this, looking for fish, concentrating on what's in the basket, I'm very aware that around me you've got water lilies, and this is exactly what the mother and daughter were collecting when they were attacked by the crocodile. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've two fish.
Two fish?
Yeah. You have some? Oh, yeah, one, nothing, one, two. I'm in the lead so far. How many? No, oh, two. No, 4, 3, 4. I think I have the biggest one. I've got the biggest one here.
This process is a great opportunity to see more of the fish that make up the food chain here in the Okavango and a prey for larger predators.
That's a river monster. Very small fish coming out, mostly a couple of inches, 2-3 inches, but quite a few of them. But they're all hiding in this quite thick vegetation where they think they're safe until they're herded out into what they think is going to be open water, but there's baskets in the way. I have to say, it's very nice to get back to the basics of fishing. Probably this kind of fishing has been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and you're talking about just simple materials and a bit of human cooperation and ingenuity. And there we are, there's the fish. Where do I... Oh, it nearly got away,
From reed collectors and the witch doctor's blessing to these ladies using papyrus baskets, fishing and its many elements are an ancient and all-consuming way of life here.
It's actually an impressive catch. There's lots of different types of fish there. They're not big, but there are lots of them, lots of fish. But the women are saying that sometimes around here it's possible to find large concentrations of big fish, very big fish, the water just full of fish. They say that doesn't happen very often, it's hard to find, but the way that I can find that is to look for the birds. The birds, the water birds, will tell me where they are.
I'm beginning to think that my childhood dream of catching a monster taiman will remain just that, a dream. Seeing my frustration, Junga arranges for me to meet someone who might be able to help. I'm instructed to enter a traditional Mongolian tent called a ger. I assume whoever is in there can help me find the taiman I'm after. I was expecting maybe a gun-toting gold digger, but it's a shaman. The first thing that strikes me is that she's nothing like the witch doctors I've met in places such as the Congo and the Okavango in Africa. They are always elder statesmen of the village, but in Mongolia, both men and women can be shaman. Although most people in Mongolia are Buddhist, many also follow an older animistic religion, a pagan belief system with deep roots stretching beyond the age of Genghis Khan.
What she's actually saying is that everything has a spirit, even things that we regard as inanimate, the mountains, the sky, the water, the trees. Spirits are basically all around. Everything out there has a spirit. The water spirit owns the fish. It's almost as if the fish are the children of the spirit.
The shaman tells me that these spirits are ever present and have the power to keep me from catching a taiman. I'd assumed the powerful feeling of being watched was down to the ninjas, but now I'm not so sure. She offers to contact the spirit world, and I'm hoping this will give me some guidance as to what to do. Just after sunset, the ceremony to summon a spirit begins. For me, spirituality and fishing have a lot in common. Casting a line on the water is like asking a question or saying a prayer. Both rely on faith. Faith that you're going to get an answer, or in my case, a fish. You don't just become a shaman in Mongolia. A spirit picks you in childhood, but only reveals itself in later life. She starts by banging a drum to help her enter a trance-like state. Before my eyes, she transforms from the soft-spoken person I met in the Ger to a gruff-voiced oracle. She is literally a woman possessed.
Having looked at my palms, although fishing is a bad thing, it doesn't please the spirits, there is some good in me, and the spirit will bring the fish to me. But what I've got to do, not just here but other rivers, is when I go to the river I've got to make some kind of offering to the spirits before I fish.
I've promised that if I catch a taimen, I'll let it go unharmed. I've travelled thousands of miles to try and catch this fish, and so far I haven't gotten close. I'll take any help I can get. I want to start fishing, but mention of the sereng has touched a superstitious nerve. I can't ignore local beliefs, and the lake's fishermen have asked to speak to me.
Is this a fish that fishermen are afraid of?
It seems the sereng is the subject of a religious taboo. Before I return to the water, I need to seek an audience with the Hindu holy man. I'm a scientist. My investigations deal with hard evidence and deduction. But for many, fishing is a superstitious game. And I've done this long enough to understand the power of belief. This holy man may be more than just a detour. Part monk and part magician, he lives in a cave high above the holy river Ganges. It's said that he can levitate and even inhabit the bodies of animals. I ask him about the sereng.
It's a big fish, it lives in the river, it lives in lakes, and it cleans things up. It eats dead matter, it eats dead animals.
And according to the holy man, this fish also eats dead people. When a Hindu dies, a funeral pyre is built beside the river. The corpse is brought down to the water's edge. As the pyre burns down, the remains end up in the river as easy pickings for the sereng. But it's not just the body it's eating.
This is a fish that not only eats the physical part of people, it also takes human souls to the gods.
Hindus believe in reincarnation. When you die, your soul leaves your body. The sereng swallows this soul and carries it to the gods, who in turn see it reincarnated into another body.
This is a fish that shouldn't be eaten, but beyond that, it's actually a sin to kill it. Babaji, mai machi shikari hu. I'm a fisherman and I'm here to try and catch a sareng.
The holy man warns me that trying to catch this fish will bring nothing but bad luck.
This fish is actually the god's gift to people. And not only is it a big fish with big teeth, it also has some kind of divine protection. This is a fish that you mess with at your peril.
A killer instinct, formidable weaponry, supernatural powers, and divine protection. I'm starting to wonder if I'm out of my depth. I head back to the village, knowing that I need some more help if I'm not to go home empty-handed. The elders tell me about an old man who not only protects them from danger, but also brings them luck.
Right, this is the house of the féticheur, the local the witch doctor. On peut entrer?
His assistants appear first, and while we wait in silence for him to emerge, I wonder if the man held in such reverence by the villagers will have the power to change my fortunes. The people of Central Africa hold féticheurs like this man in very high regard. His knowledge has been passed down over generations, and his powers lie in his ability to call on the spirits. He uses substances from the forest to create the potions.
Maintenant, pour prendre ça pour protection.
Ah, okay.
Qui va donner pour protection?
I have no idea what this will involve, but for a small payment, I'm hoping he can change my fortunes.
Malam.
What he's asking for is success in the fishing, but also protection from the fish. This is a dangerous fish. I'm going to try and get one of these fish and actually put it back alive, but that does actually carry something of a risk. It's sort of a lucky charm, and I'm thinking that I'm going to need all the help I get in the next few days.
The ceremony finishes with the villagers thanking the spirits. But as I set off on my mission, leaving the port of Manaus, my boat captain tells me that if I'm interested in Arapaima, then I should definitely visit one of these floating houses. Salted Arapaima used to be a meal enjoyed across the Amazon. But since a ban on commercial fishing, a few enterprising ribeirinhos, or river people, have started to farm them in pens like this to satisfy the demand for Arapaima meat.
I've heard these Arapaima in this enclosure here do something quite spectacular.
I've arrived just as they're preparing to fish one out for their own cooking pot.
Bom dia! Eu vou aí. Não. Tudo.
vamos tirar pedaço.
Eu sou Jeremy.
Seu nome é meu Alegria.
Alegria, eh?
Alegria.
Seu Alegria, which means happiness, is he's about to try and get an Arapaima out of here. There's a few in here, and he says it's not an easy job. It can be a wee bit interesting. I'm going to ask him if maybe I can help. Tem que ficar de olho assim. There are 30 fish in here, and he says they're just jumping everywhere, and they are just, you know, you're just having to duck. You risk getting hit by the head, and this is about the size of a boxing ring. It's about having, you know, it's like having 30 people coming at you and just having to avoid them. Right, I'm going to have to just prepare myself a little bit. Pula mesmo?
Pula. É limpo embaixo. Ok.
Oh, just trod on a fish.
Pisou em cima de
Right, esse fundo todo canto, né? Eu vou para lá.
Vai levando
De
pra lá.
costa. This is this is a bit like a boxing ring. It's about the same size. There's 35 fish in here, nearly as big as I am.
Lá vai o arrastão, leve nessa posição.
Bom, melhor assim.
Vai levando pra lá.
Okay. Taking the net up.
It's a simple matter of netting one. But this is exactly what I was doing when I took the full force of an Arapaima headbutt to the chest. And I have been warned that these fish are particularly violent when cornered.
Frente, eh?
De frente é melhor.
é?
Bota o pé direito no churro.
I'm walking forward, which means all the vulnerable bits of my body, you know, a boxer would be covering them up.
Tá beleza.
Okay, that's going well.
Vai começar a pular.
Right, they're going to start jumping any minute, he's saying. Any minute they're going to start jumping.
Opa, furou, Zé. Afrouxa.
Okay, we didn't get one. We're going to have to go through the whole thing again.
Knowing what's coming makes the second attempt even more daunting.
I'm afraid. Jeremy is afraid, he's saying. I think that is fairly clear to see. Right, he's saying they might be a bit tired this time, so they might...
There's no doubt that when cornered or trapped by nets, the Arapaima becomes a formidable force of nature. With the help of these Arapaima farmers, I'm finally holding one of these incredible fish in my arms.
Look at that fish.
My fear has been replaced with a new respect.
Vamos levantar, we're going to lift it up.
Maybe I'm now ready to face an Arapaima on my own.
Oh, now we're going to let the head go. We're going to let the head go. This is the... They wanted one to eat, that one was too big. They want to get a smaller one. I think I'm just going to leave them to it.
Ok.
Bon. Never ever seen anything like that before. All those fish absolutely clean out of the water. You know, I think that just has to be, you know, the evidence that I was looking for.
Just imagine the damage a fish could do that had the same solid bone head but was more than twice the weight. But Sue Alegria also insists that they sneak through holes in the nets, displaying a curiously unfish-like cunning. Combine that with their sheer muscular power, and you can easily see how dangerous the Arapaima becomes when cornered. The next day, I'm privileged to join a 71-year-old village elder named Duba. He spent his life on these waters. I'm hoping he can help me unlock the secrets of this reed-filled labyrinth and find the killer fish at its heart. Duba is one of the last San River Bushmen, some of the most ancient people on Earth. They have fished these eerie backwaters for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, and own the traditional fishing rights. So it's only with Duba's permission that I'm allowed to be here. And without his help, I would never find my way out. We enter a place known as Three Spot Lagoon. Apparently very few people fish here. I'm intrigued to know why.
Duba, can you tell me what's different about this place? What happens here?
Ke go bewa hela mautu a hae a bana mo metsi thogo a hae be e tshelelwa ka mo hela be to go sala.
So the significance of this place is that traditionally this is where the dead were taken. They were buried up to their necks.
Unlike most burials, here the bodies are buried standing upright. It's a strange tradition from my Western perspective, but then everything here seems to have a dark twist to it.
The rains would come, the rains would then go away, and the body would be gone, and the people would be transformed into papyrus plants.
They believe these floating spirit papyrus protect the lagoons, moving independently against the current to close the channels and trap intruders inside the labyrinth.
Go mo kwena itsena mo mokoro kana mo sekepe ka bona ha o tsenela sena tiseletso.
So if you come here without permission, what happens is that either you're going to find the way into the lagoon blocked by papyrus, you can't get in, you're physically kept out. If you insist on pushing your way through, the papyrus will close behind you and you'll never find your way out. All that will be found eventually is just your empty canoe. Duba, I've been hearing about a fish called ngwesh. Is this a particularly dangerous fish?
Eh, yana ha o itshwara ka bothale o thantula sente le tua go mo itshwarela mo tlogela thogo ka ha le meno.
The ngwesh is a fish that is it's very toothy. It's got teeth a bit like a crocodile, very sharp. From my point of view, fishing for them, trying to find them. I've established that this place is a sacred place, a haunted place if you like. But what that also means is it's got a degree of protection. People don't normally come here. So I think while I'm here and while I'm sort of authorised to be here, I could do a lot worse than just put a lure through the water and see if there is anything down there.
In this lagoon, I'm trying a small fishing lure. If the ngwesh is a pack hunter, like the piranha, then a disturbance near the surface is what it might go for.
There's a fish. Whoa! This fish took almost under the rod tip. An indication of how voracious the fish are in this water. I mean, I've got about 4 feet of line out there. I was just about to lift it out of the water, and it grabbed it. And I'm just letting it tire out a bit. I mean, the chances are it's got teeth if it went for that spoon, so I've got bare feet in here. I want it a little bit tired before I try and swing it in the boat.
Aye.
Beautiful little fish, very toothy. This is actually an African pike, sort of mottled green. The colour's actually wrong, I think, for what I've been hearing about, but if I just compare the teeth with what I was given by the witch doctor, actually the teeth are very different, very different. So, I mean, quite a nice toothy fish to catch this, but I think we can rule this off the suspects list.
So the hunt for the mutilator of the ferry victims continues.
Nice looking fish, but it's not the one I'm after.
This lake is too vast and unpredictable for me to fish blind. It's time to gather some local intelligence about attacks. The lake is now home to millions of recently introduced fish, not found elsewhere on the Zambezi, and they're muddying the waters. To find the true identity of the killer, I need to locate the people who lived along the Kariba Gorge before it was flooded. As the lake waters rose in the late 1950s, they were resettled to villages like Lusitu, more than 100 miles inland. Patrick is a medicine man and one of the few elders who remember life on the river before the dam.
They didn't want to come here, they were forced to come here. Some people resisted, and it sounds like people even, died as a result of resistance.
Look at all these people.
before living in this sort of dry area. They were living beside the banks of the Zambezi, a place called Matongo. There were lots of different types of fish, so as well as growing food, there was always the river there to provide fish from time to time. Are there any very big fish in the river, any fish that are dangerous to people? There's one fish in particular, Muzunda. Apparently this is a very, very strong fish. If you're in the canoe, you've got to go with it. You don't pull when it is pulling. If you do it right, you eventually tire it out, you get it to the side of the river and you spear it. You get it wrong, and that fish is going to flip your canoe, pull you into the water. Maybe nobody will ever see you again.
But that's not all. Patrick goes on to tell me something even more horrifying. The fish he calls Mazunda has developed a taste for human flesh. Stories tell of women going down to the river to do the wash and sitting their toddlers in the shallows to keep cool. They don't know if it's the noise, the vibrations, or even the scent of the soap in the water. But sometimes it draws a Mazunda in.
It's got a big head, big mouth, the back end like a snake. If there's a baby in the water, this fish can just take it in one mouthful and possibly even a small person. So this is this, by the sounds of it, is the big fish that's in the river here.
Patrick insists it's too dangerous to take to the river without protection. A blessing will safeguard me on the water. My visit to the elders has been both unsettling and illuminating. Fishermen here have a lot to be afraid of, so it's no wonder that religion plays such an important part in their lives. This spectacular rock-hewn church is devoted to the patron saint of Ethiopia, a man famous for doing battle with an almighty river monster, a giant dragon. This is Bet Georgis, the Church of St. George.
This place literally is breathtaking. To think this is actually just one solid lump of rock, I mean, it's just a huge sculpture, really, just incredible. This is a classic picture of St. George on his horse, the dragon lying dead or dying on the ground. Oh, it's very, very clear from here that so important is he to the people here that there are even people who believe that this story of George and the dragon actually happened here in Ethiopia.
If St. George did kill a dangerous Ethiopian dragon, then it's no wonder the locals revere him. But as I walk through the nearby town, I realise just how significant he is to them.
St. George is so important here in Ethiopia that the 23rd of every month is St. George's Day. And here at another church devoted to St. George, you get these crowds of people coming in to worship.
As I wait for the Mass to finish, a man seemingly kitted out as St. George himself arrives.
So I've just asked this man, is he St. George? And he's launched into the whole story, telling me the story of St. George.
Apparently, at some point in the distant past, human sacrifices were made to appease a dangerous dragon that lived in a lake near a village. Eventually, it was the turn of the chief's daughter. But before she was devoured, a knight arrived to slay the dragon and save the princess. This man was St. George. As the St. George's Day Mass finishes, I enter the church to see if I can learn a bit more about what kind of local river monster this dragon might have been. Well, this is the classic picture of St. George on his horse, dragon slain on the ground, and the princess, the maiden, looking on. Very, very detailed rendition of the dragon. It's got pretty nasty looking teeth, a forked tongue, and these wings with little claws almost on the edge of the wings. It seems like the dragon is a composite of all the most deadly animals that are found here in the African Rift Valley. Even my Nile perch is represented by the wings of this beast. So I've returned to India, where the sareng is believed to carry the souls of the dead and to be protected by the gods.
I'm used to looking at water as a fisherman, but imagine you live beside this river and it's before the days of atlases. And this river, it just keeps flowing in the same direction day after day, year after year, generation after generation for as long as anyone can remember, just bringing things to you, taking things away. And it's actually not such a leap to imagine that maybe it's some kind of circle, a cycle, and that things that go into it somehow come back. And the creatures that you sometimes glimpse under the water, they are held in a special kind of awe. And part of that is because eventually they are going to consume your remains. And it's actually quite a thought to look around and to think that all these people one day will end up in this river as food for the fishes.
This is a world of river gods and sacred fish. But if I can somehow make it clear that I mean the sareng no harm, that I just want to catch it, examine it and let it go, perhaps the gods will let their guard down. Back in India, the rain has cleared. First stop is a temple dedicated to the river gods.
This temple is on the confluence of two rivers. Now, in Hinduism, rivers are sacred and confluences are doubly sacred. Now, I'm not sure that I totally sort of buy into all the belief, but certainly with all these people here, you don't get this amount of smoke without some kind of fire.
It's time for me to make a leap of faith. Pilgrims flock here seeking blessings and good fortune. I'm here to lift the sareng's curse of bad luck. The priest gives me a blessing and a bag of sacred rice, an offering to the gods and the fish in the river. And where before these Indian rivers seemed empty, suddenly they spring to life. If I'm here to make friends with the local fish, it seems I'm doing something right.
This is what fish do if you leave them alone and if you feed them occasionally. The water just teems with them. Compare that to what rivers are normally like. You're normally struggling to see fish, but here we are, very populous part of India, and they leave this fish alone and the water's just full of them.
But can this charm offensive translate into a sareng on the end of my line? There's a part of the Zambezi that remains virtually untouched. The lower Zambezi, on the border with Mozambique, where temperatures top 120 degrees. Perhaps I can find my river monster there. The remote town of Luangwa was built on the back of the barbaric slave trade. Portuguese boats would load their human cargo from subterranean holding pits and then head down the Zambezi to the Indian Ocean. The slave trade has now gone, but life is far from easy. The locals share these waters with two of the biggest people killers in Africa, hippos and crocs. The river is not safe to swim in, so most people never learn. If they're knocked out of their boats, it's over. And for that reason, I need to find someone who knows this river like the back of his hand, to be my guide.
Good morning. This river here?
Yes.
Yeah?
A boatman called Tafilia agrees. But as we draw near to a prime fishing spot, he's reluctant to get too close. Crocodiles have slaughtered 13 people in this village in the last year alone, including a chief and his wife.
This village now is finished. In the previous years, there were almost 50 households. But if we go there, you are going to find maybe there are 6 households. Many people, they have been killed by the crocodiles.
So what do people say? Why do they think this place has such dangerous crocodiles?
There is someone has got a magic, within this village. So he's the one who make those magic. If he dislike you, then he's going to kill you with his magic through the crocodiles.
Black magic really is a matter of life and death here. Tafilia tells me his own grandfather was executed for witchcraft.
My grandfather was a very bad man. He was also using to kill many people with crocodiles there at our homeland. But people kill him with stone, fire. So after he died, all those things finish.
Almost all the villagers here have now fled in fear of the possessed crocodiles. What's worse, Tafilia tells me Vundu have pulled fishermen into the croc-infested waters.
If you're on a canoe, does it pull the canoe?
Most of the wound when you hook him, always pulling down. So sometimes you find maybe if your canoe has got no balance, sometimes it can go down. So what we do, when we see those dangers, we cut the line. The biggest vundu which I've seen. The same like that.
Right.
Yes.
Tafilia used the same words as Jaconia to describe the big fish he saw.
So this
Some of it is like me.
same size as you?
Yeah.
According to Tafilia, there are still giants left in this remote corner of Africa. His daughter brings me what she calls the Ngwesh, but it's not quite what I was hoping for.
So these are the teeth of the Ngwesh. I'll tell you what struck me first of all. It wasn't so much this; it was his reaction. He visibly backed away. I mean, it's not just talk. These are definitely, powerful in his belief. Didn't want to be anywhere near them. They look almost shark-like, these teeth. They've sort of crumbled a little bit, but I can tell that they are very, very sharp. But I'm still no nearer visualizing what the entire creature is like.
It's a tangible clue, though. And that evening, as I watch the villagers prepare for a blessing ceremony, I feel I'm getting closer to revealing its identity. But when the witch doctor reappears, unrecognizable in his ceremonial attire, I realize I'm a long way from understanding this place. He seems to exist on the cusp of another world, and within minutes, he's worked the women into a frenzy.
Talk about a transformation, a serious man I was talking to, and then just suddenly this dancing just ball of energy, incredible.
The witch doctor's transformation is not the only surprise of the evening. The ladies bring out their baskets, which they use for fishing in the shallows. But they also ask me to bring out my fishing rod.
Do I sit here? Okay.
Suddenly, I'm at the center of their ritual.
Dragged into the middle of proceedings here. The women are actually getting their fishing baskets blessed. And I've sort of been snuck into their number, maybe to give me a little bit of protection, good fortune, in my quest to find out about this fish, the Ngwesh.
They seem to feel that if I'm going after the Ngwesh, that I'm going to need all the help I can get. Something changes in me, though, and soon I'm swept up in the ceremony, dancing beside them in a way that not even I recognize. Then, as quickly as it started, the ceremony ends.
I can't say that I totally followed everything that was going on there, but essentially the women were given blessing and protection for their basket fishing, and the fact that I was included in that means that I now have some degree of protection in this unfamiliar environment for me. So what I've got to go and do now is look beneath the surface of the aquatic life here and lay my hands on this creature that I'm looking for.
Ah, those teeth! That will just take lumps out of other fish, it will take lumps out of crocodiles even, and there are stories well documented of them.